Hello, welcome to Microsoft Excel Level 3 Video 2. Today we're going to look at a practical example of where we would see the VLOOKUP in a real-world scenario. So if you're just joining us and you have not gone through video 1, you should do that one first, because we go through quite a bit of detail of explanation of the do's and don'ts, as well as a practical understanding of the VLOOKUP. So as I start off, if you download templates, and a lot of people do with Microsoft Excel, you'll notice if you press the Control and the accent key to see the math in the background, VLOOKUPs are used a lot. I downloaded a template the other day just to check things out, and it was an invoice template, standard invoice template, and sure enough, there were VLOOKUPs all over the place. So even locations where you might think it probably wouldn't even be there, they are there. So having a practical knowledge and a working knowledge of these, even if you never create these types of files, odds are if you're volunteering at your church group or community center, or if you've been transferred jobs, you're going to run into them somewhere along the way. So today you are working in a medical office, and your job is to create a spreadsheet to keep track of the patient's blood pressures. So we have a small spreadsheet started here with just a handful of patients. And across the top, of course, we have our labels for each of those columns. Column C, the diagnosis, that's where we're going to be putting our blood pressure piece in. Now, the one that I've created for you today is not good. So I made a common mistake that students will do. And again, this is part of that learning process of what I wanted to share with you. So everything looks fine and dandy. It looks like a great spreadsheet. We've got good color. Everything's laid out nice and clean. Everything's awesome, except that they put the chart right in the middle of where your data would continue on. Okay, common. Everybody wants things crammed together. I want to have my chart close to where my data is so I can keep track of everything. That's our logical reasoning as people of what we normally want. The problem is that this is a sheet that can have 2 more rows of data, and that's it. And if we were looking at a realistic piece of a medical clinic, doctors have hundreds and hundreds of patients. There is absolutely no way this is going to work. So as much as it might seem, common sense or logical in our world to keep this chart nice and close to us, you're better off keeping it far, far away. Okay, number one, as I've said already, it's now interfering. We can't add any more rows of data on here. And if I decide to just cut this chart out now and paste it somewhere over here or somewhere far away, it's going to wreck everything. Once we start designing our page, and we don't have the VLOOKUP equations in yet, but if we were to have created the formulas and put the stuff in, everything would just mess up because it's going to still look to this location to where your chart is. So in your design phase, as you're building things from scratch or starting at the beginning, it is very, very critical to try to think ahead, to try and plan ahead as to what some problems might be or where you see the page growing and developing to. The last part to discuss before we get going here is the chart never changes. So in a case of this one, for example, the chart will never change. The systolic blood pressure table, this stuff has been designed by doctors many, many, many years back. So anywhere of these ranges of between 130 to 139 is considered a high normal. Anything above 140 and above is considered high blood pressure. Those facts haven't changed. So there's no need to ever come back into your chart and edit it. Now, that doesn't work for every VLOOKUP, but one like this, these are pretty much set in stone. Although I don't think 0 is a normal blood pressure, but you get the idea. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say pause the video now and create this chart for yourself. Again, make sure you're putting everything in the right places, and I'll see you back in a few minutes. You can pause the video. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you got everything in close to as accurate as you can, because it's not going to work out if you're following me and your numbers are not in the same place. So I'm going to click in the first spot for our diagnosis. And for Gershwin E, blood pressure is 130. Where is that going to range in our chart? We'll see. All right, always the equal, VLOOKUP. Okay, we have our function name and the equal sign as usual. Open bracket. And if you practiced in video 1 quite a bit, you know that we click on our cell to check. We separate the cell to check from the rest of the function with a comma. I then use my mouse to highlight my chart. So with the white mouse cross, hold the button down on the first part of the chart, slide across, down and down. Let go, comma, 2, close bracket. And before I go back and put my dollar signs in now, the other piece I wanted to mention here is make sure that these aren't in the same cells. 0 normal, those are in 2 different columns, right? 2 different cells. I've had students at times say because of coloring and shading in the background, they couldn't quite see and they thought everything was all together. No, 0, 130, and 140 are in separate cells than normal, high, normal, and high. Okay, all right, last piece is we need to make sure that this is absolute cell reference. So we're gonna put in our dollar signs. So carefully, I'm gonna click in front of the B and we're gonna go shift to number 4 for dollar sign. Then carefully in front of the 9, shift to number 4. Carefully in front of the C, shift to number 4. Carefully in front of the 11, shift to number 4. Dollar sign B, dollar sign 9, colon, dollar sign C, dollar sign 11. Okay, perfect. Comma 2, close bracket. Same rules as before apply. There are no spaces anywhere. Capitals are not important. It will automatically capitalize the word VLOOKUP and things for us. Not a problem. Press enter, and 130 is yes on the high normal part. I'm going to click once on the high normal now. To the bottom right-hand corner with the solid black cross. Hold your left mouse button down. Pull, 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 and let go. And there we go. High normal, normal, high normal. And very easily, we can say that this one was an error. We checked him again and he was okay now. So I'm gonna go to 125. And as soon as I change it to 125, he drops back down to normal. So all is good there. Okay. One more piece before I send you off to practice this one is the errors that can happen. So here we go. I realize now after the fact that, geez, we've got more patients to put in here and I don't have the space because my chart's in the way. So commonly people who are new to Excel are going to pull and highlight my chart like this. They're gonna try to go edit and cut. And then I'm gonna go, okay, I'm gonna put it over here. That's safe over there. Edit, paste, that's gonna be far out of the way. And if you start moving things around like this, there are times where it will chase and follow you. So here we were lucky, it updated for us. Other times though, it doesn't work. So there are a variety of idiosyncrasies with Excel. And normally in a class, if we had students in, I'd have half the class move one way and half the class move one another way. And several students would have a problem right away going, oh, it didn't work. My formulas are all wrong. It didn't follow. So it worked for us. And again, this was a one chance example, but you'll find that it'll work, and then suddenly it doesn't work. Suddenly the VLOOKUP is still looking down over here for that table. So if you've made a mistake like this and you put the table too close, you're better off to start over than to try to cut, paste, or move things over or drag things to other locations. That type of tactics may work like it did for us this time, but my experience is more often than not, it doesn't. So careful with that. So what I'll leave you with here is I'm going to put that back to where it was before. I'm going to leave you with some time to practice this again. So we're going to highlight all of these and press your delete key to wipe them out, and go ahead and make them a couple more times. If you want, you can cut this out and paste it somewhere else and see if it gives you the errors or not. You could also move and add a few more people in. Also, change your numbers a little bit. See and make sure that your chart is working for you. Thanks for watching.